This week's Champions League games were pure chaos. We had 71 goals across 18 matches, 7 red cards, plenty of penalties, and a bunch of VAR checks. But just how good were the games in this week's Champions League action? So here we have all 18 games from this week's matches in the Champions League, all the way from Barcelona's 6-1 win over Olympiacos to Monaco's 0-0 draw with Tottenham. We're going to be ranking them on this S to F scale to see which matches truly stood out amongst the rest and which ones we might have forgotten about by the end of the day. So we're going to start off with the first match from Tuesday night, which was Barcelona 6-1 victory over Olympiacos. Now, I had a feeling that Barcelona were going to play better in this game than they did in Matchday 2, and that's exactly what happened. They came away with a 6-1 victory over the Greek visitors. It was 2-0 going into halftime with goals from Lopez, but then in the 54th minute, El Kaabi scored a penalty goal. But then after that, Barcelona just opened the floodgates and it was non-stop scoring. We had Lamine Yamal scoring a penalty, Rashford got a 5-minute brace, Lopez got his third goal of the night in the 76th minute, and then with Heze's 57th minute red card, it was just all Barcelona in the second half. There was no chance for Olympiacos. If we look at stats, it was pretty one-sided, honestly. 7 total shots on target from Barcelona. They had more big chances, like they had more possession. Olympiacos never really had a chance in this game. It was a good match, but it was incredibly one-sided, so because of that, I think the only place I can put this match in is the C tier for now. So the next game of the day was played out in Kazakhstan between Kairat, Almaty and Pafos FC, 2 of the 4 debutants this season who are still looking for their first win in the campaign, and that did not happen because the game ended in a 0-0 draw. So this game was a bit lackluster to say the least. Kairat had a 4th-minute red card for Pafos at the very beginning of the match, and everyone was expecting Kairat to capitalize on that, but they didn't really do that. They had a few chances throughout the game. They were definitely the better side on offense, putting up 22 total shots, but they just kept missing. They only had 2 shots on target. They had more possession, but I think Pafos did a better job with the few chances that they did have. But unfortunately, neither team could really break one another down. It was kind of lackluster. I was expecting a bit more from Kairat, especially because this was their best chance to score points probably in the entire season. So this match wasn't my favorite. I honestly think I'm going to have to be pretty harsh with it and put it into the F tier today. So the next game of the day was played out between Union St.Gilloise and Inter Milan in Anderlecht, and this was a 4-0 win for Inter Milan at the end of 90 minutes, so a pretty dominant display here. There isn't a whole lot to say about Union St.Gilloise. They didn't have that many chances throughout the match, and honestly, by halftime, you could tell Inter were in like the lead of this game. They were the better team. They had more possession throughout the game. They had more total shots. They pretty much dominated every single aspect of this match, and the hosts never really put up a fight. So yeah, it's a good result for the Italian side, but again, too one-sided, and I wasn't truly entertained throughout this game. So I'm going to put this one in the C tier as well. Moving on to the next game of the day between FC Copenhagen and Dortmund in the Danish capital. This one ended as a 4-2 win for the German side. This was a pretty good game, honestly. Nemanja scored the opening goal in the 20th minute, but then Valdemar Anton had an own goal in the 33rd minute, so went into halftime at 1-1, and then Dortmund just completely turned on the Jets in the second half. Ben Sebaini had a penalty, Nemanja got a second in the 76th minute, and then Silva scored his first goal for Dortmund in the 87th minute. Copenhagen did get one back, but it wasn't anything crazy as at the end of the game when the match was already over, so yeah, Dortmund were the better side on the road. They had more shots on target, more bigger chances, more accurate passes. Like, Copenhagen just didn't really look that good in this match, and Dortmund were kind of over them for the entire thing. But this one was a bit closer. It looks like it was pretty one-sided, but it was a pretty good game from start to finish. So this one, I think we're going to put this one in the B tier for now, just because it was a bit closer than the others. Moving on to the craziest game of Tuesday night, it has to be PSG's 7-2 win over Bayer Leverkusen in Germany. Now, this was a crazy game from start to finish. We had Pacho scoring the opening goal in the 7th minute. Grimaldo missed a penalty early on, but then Garcia scored in the 38th minute. And then Desiree Doué and Vica Kvaratskhelia scored 3 goals in the space of 4 minutes to make it 4-1 going into halftime. So already there was 5 goals in the first half, so you could tell this game was going to be insane. And there was, oh yeah, I'm completely forgetting the 2 red cards. One to Anderlecht in the 31st minute, and then another one to Zabarni in the 37th minute. So going into halftime, it was a 4-1 game, and there were 2 red cards. So already this was shaping out to be a classic match. PSG scored 3 more from Mendes, Dembele, and Vitinha in the second half, and they were just all over them. If you look at the stats here, Leverkusen had no chance after the 45th minute. It was PSG the entire way through. They had 24 total shots, 8 shots on target, completely dominated possession. Their XG was higher. It was just a freaking nightmare for Leverkusen in this game. Vitinha scored from outside the box with the last goal of the game. Desiree Doué also scored a banger. Kvaratskhelia scored a banger. It was insane. Yeah, Garcia also had a great goal here. So this match honestly was like peak Champions League football. I was expecting a 4-0 win for PSG going to this game. It ended 7-2 with 2 red cards. That's all there has to be said about that match. There's only one place we can put this game today, and it's going into the S tier. So the next game of the day was played out in Spain between Villarreal and Manchester City, which ended in a 2-0 victory for the English side. This game was okay, like it wasn't anything crazy. Erling Haaland scored the opener in the 17th minute, and then Bernardo Silva got the second goal of the game in the 40th minute. Villarreal had a few chances in the first half and the second half with it. They never looked too lethal on offense. They never looked like they were really going to break down Manchester City's backline. If we take a look at the stats here, Manchester City were dominating possession. They dominated the shots on target, the big chances. They pretty much were just a better side on the offensive side of the ball. But they could have scored a few more goals in my opinion. They had a few chances that I thought were bound to go in and then somehow didn't. So yeah, overall, it was like an alright game. It wasn't anything crazy. If I had to rank it, I'm probably going to put it in the D tier for now, for this 2-0 victory. So the next game of the day was another marquee matchup between Arsenal and Atletico Madrid at the Emirates in London, which ended as a 4-0 victory for the home side. Honestly, I thought Atletico Madrid would put up more of a fight in this game, but it was pretty much Arsenal from the get-go, from the start of the second half as well. They scored 4 goals in the space of 13 minutes. Like, Atletico Madrid just completely shut off in the second half for some reason. Arsenal were playing pretty good. They had a few chances in the first half that didn't go their way, but then with goals from Gabriel and from Martinelli and a brace from Gyökeres in 3 minutes, they just turned on the Jets and they never looked back. They had 19 total shots, 8 shots on target, 6 big chances. Possession was pretty even, I'd say, but Atletico just couldn't do much with the few shots that they actually did manage to hit on target. And it was honestly a good game. It seemed extremely one-sided, but I really enjoyed watching this one. If I'm going to rank this one, I think it might be a hot take because it was so one-sided, but I enjoyed it pretty thoroughly, so I'm putting it in the A tier for now. The other game on Tuesday night that was taking place in England was Newcastle taking on Benfica at St. James's Park, which ended in a 3-0 win for the home side. This was a pretty solid game. We had the opening goal in the 32nd minute from Gordon, and then a brace from Barnes in the 70th and 83rd minute. He's been playing pretty well lately, I have to say. Benfica continue to struggle. I don't know what is happening to them this season, but they just aren't playing well in the Champions League. Like, they only managed 2 shots on target. They were pretty good with the possession, but they just didn't have any like crazy chances that you really thought like were gonna go in and they were gonna score. Newcastle were kind of all over them in the second half, and they were just a better side. So this one was good. Where would I rank it? I don't know. Like, I wasn't too thrilled by how either team played, so I think we're gonna put in the C tier for now. So finally, the last game of Tuesday night was between PSV and Napoli in Eindhoven, which ended as a 6-2 win for the home side. This was a crazy game from start to finish. I predicted from the start that it was gonna be a goal fest. I said 4-3 going PSV's way, and we had 8 goals instead of 7, so this one really blew me away. It started with McTominay scoring the opening goal in the 31st minute for Napoli, but there was a quick turnaround. There was an own goal in the 35th minute from an unlucky deflection, and then Saibari had a beautiful strike to make it 2-1 going into halftime. So there was still a chance for Napoli in this game going into the halftime break, but PSV just turned on the Jets in the second half. There was no chance for Napoli coming back in this one. We had 2 goals from Dennis Mann in the 54th and 80th minute. The 80th minute goal was an absolutely beautiful goal, beautiful curling effort. I'm pretty sure he won man of the match in that game as well. We had 2 goals from Pepe and Driush in 2 minutes. And as well, Luca from Napoli had a red card in the 76th minute. I think he was arguing with the ref and he talked his way into a red card, which is pretty funny. Scott McTominay got a consolation goal for Napoli in the 86th minute, but it just wasn't close in the second half. Like, PSV just took this game by storm, finished with 19 total shots, 8 shots on target, dominated possession, dominated XG. Like, it was just a PSV masterclass. If you haven't seen the highlights from this game, I definitely recommend them. They played really well. It was an 8-goal thriller. There was a red card. It was close in the first half. Like, it was a great game. The only place you can put this match today is the S tier for now. So those are all of Tuesday night's matches ranked. Let's go to Wednesday's games, which started with Galatasaray taking on Bodo Glimt at the Rams Park in Istanbul, which ended in a 3-1 win for the home side. So in this game, Galatasaray opened the scoring in the 3rd minute with a goal from Victor Osimhen, and then he got another one in the 33rd minute, which was a really nice goal. One more goal from Akgun in the 60th minute made it 3-0 for Galatasaray with only 30 minutes left to play. Bodo Glimt did get one back from Helmerson in the 75th minute, but by that point it was already too late. You could tell Bodo Glimt didn't have much of a chance in this game. Taking a look at the stats, Galatasaray dominated pretty much everything except possession. They had less possession in this game, but they made it count when they did have it. They came away with 23 total shots, 11 shots on target, 9 big chances, almost 4 XG, which is crazy to think about. Like, they were just absolutely dominant in this match. Bodo Glimt played well in their first 2 games against Slavia, Prague, and Tottenham, but in this game, they just looked weak. They looked sluggish. They looked slow. It wasn't their match. It was a match to forget for the Norwegian side. Where are we putting this one? I don't know. This one, like, it was good, but it wasn't... I don't think it was any better than any of these games here, so I think I'm going to put this one in the C tier as well. Another game that produced a 3-1 scoreline was between Atletico and Qarabag in Bilbao, with the Spanish side coming away with a 3-1 victory. This was Atletico's first game of the Champions League season where they actually looked like themselves and they played up to their standards, and they finally came away with a win, but it was enticing to begin with. Andrade scored the opening goal within like 40 seconds for Qarabag, and everyone was thinking, oh, they're going to come away with another crazy win, but that was not the case. There was a goal from Guruzzeta in the 40th minute to take the match into halftime at 1-1, and then the second half, it was a bit closer, but Atletico were the better side for most of the second period. A beautiful goal from Navarro in the 70th minute, and another beautiful strike from Guruzzeta in the 88th minute brought the game to its final 3-1 scoreline, and they just dominated on the stat sheet. They had 21 total shots, 5 shots on target, 7 big chances, dominated possession. Some beautiful goals from Athletic Club. All 3 of them came from outside the box, so highly recommend checking the highlights on that one. Where am I going to put this one? I think this one was more entertaining than the Galatasaray Bodo Glimt game. So I think I'm gonna give it a high ranking. I'm gonna put this one in the A tier. Moving on to my favorite club's matchup, it was Bayern Munich taking on Club Brugge in the south of Germany, which ended as a 4-0 win for the home side. Bayern were super dominant in this game. Karl got his first goal in the 5th minute for Bayern Munich. Kane got one in the 14th minute, and Luis Diaz had a beautiful strike in the 34th minute to take this game to 3-0 going into halftime. Nicholas Jackson got a consolation goal in the 79th minute, but by that point the match was already over. Club Brugge were nowhere in this game, as you can tell by the stat sheet. Bayern had 26 total shots, 13 on target, 7 big chances, 4.2 XG, 63% possession. Like, this match wasn't going to be close from the beginning. I think everyone could have predicted that Bayern were going to come away with a dominant win, but for them to play this well and for Club Brugge to just not show up whatsoever, I was pretty surprised. I'm not going to lie. That being said, even though they are my favorite team, it was kind of stale. Like, it was so obvious from the start who was going to win that there was never any moment where I was like, oh, Club Brugge might actually have a chance in this game. So yeah, I'm happy they came away with a 4-0 win, but just purely entertainment-wise, I don't think it's better than any of the matches in the C tier. Moving on to another game in England, it was Chelsea taking on Ajax at Stamford Bridge in London, which ended as a 5-1 win for the home side. This was a pretty dominant game from Chelsea. Honestly, this was like the first time this season that they really stepped up and really like proved to the Champions League that they belong there, and they did that in very entertaining fashion. This game was crazy. So we had a goal from Marc Guéhi in the 18th minute and another goal from Moises Caicedo in the 27th minute. And then out of nowhere, they just started scoring penalties left, right, center. We had Wout Weghorst scoring in the 33rd minute to get one back for Ajax. And then we had another penalty from Fernandes in the 45th minute and a 45th plus 6th minute penalty from Estevao to take this game into halftime at 4-1. Keep in mind, Ajax went a man down in the 15th minute. Taylor got a red card for his challenge, and you could just tell, like, at that point, Chelsea were cooking. One last goal from George in the 48th minute brought this game to its 5-1 scoreline. If we check the stats, again, pure dominance from Chelsea in this one. 22 total shots, 10 shots on target, 5 big chances, 66% possession, 3.65 XG. Ajax just got suffocated. They really had no chance in this game. They had that one consolation goal, but they've just been struggling this season, like extremely struggling. And it really looks like they might be eliminated before we even get to the final match day. That being said, I was a big fan of this one. This was a really good game to watch back, and I think it's gonna have to go into the A tier. The next match of the day is the one that everyone was looking forward to, which was Real Madrid taking on Juventus at the Bernabeu in the Spanish capital, which ended as a 1-0 win for the home side. This game was pretty good. So Real Madrid only came away with 1 goal, but it was a lot closer than that looks. They had a bunch of really good chances. They just couldn't capitalize on them. Juventus's goalkeeper was doing really well in this game. Bellingham came away with like the easiest goal of his career. The ball bounced off the inside of the post, went right to him. He slotted it in to give Real Madrid the win. And on paper, it was like a dominant showing from Madrid as well. 28 total shots, 10 shots on target, 3 big chances, 66% possession. Juventus just haven't stepped up this season. Like, they had a great game against Dortmund on Matchday 1 when they came back but didn't win. They had another really good performance against Villarreal, but they didn't win that game either. So you were expecting them to come into this one with momentum to like prove to everyone that, yeah, their first 2 games weren't the best, but they were going to make up for it. And they just didn't really show up. And as you can tell, they lost. So they're still looking for their first win of the season. Honestly, it was a low score line, but if you take a look at the highlights, like if you watch the game back, it was pretty good. Where I'm going to rank this one, it's a tough one. I think it's better than any of the C tier matches, but not good enough for the A tier. I'm going to put in the B tier. The next game of the day took place in Western Germany, which saw Eintracht Frankfurt taking on Liverpool, which ended as a 5-1 win for the English visitors. This game was pretty good. Eintracht Frankfurt actually did open the scoring in this one with a goal from Christensen in the 26th minute. But as anyone could have predicted, Ekitike scored the opening goal for Liverpool in the 35th minute. He didn't celebrate against his former club, so we got to respect that. But after that, Van Dijk had a powerful header in the 39th minute. Konate had a really good goal in the 44th minute, and it went into halftime at 3-1. So there was still hope for Eintracht Frankfurt in this game to come back, but Liverpool were just way too strong in the second half. 2 more goals from Gakpo and Szoboszlai in 4 minutes of each other gave the English visitors a 5-1 win. Looking at the stat sheet, Eintracht Frankfurt didn't really do a whole lot. Like, as you can tell, their side of the pitch was a lot more empty than Liverpool's. Liverpool had 18 total shots, 14 on target, 10 big chances, 3 XG, 65% possession. It was just another, like, steamrolling, honestly. Like, Eintracht were like, hey, let's score the first goal, and then completely shut off for the rest of the game. So it was entertaining, it was good, but it felt a little too one-sided after the first goal from Frankfurt. So this one is, I'm going to put in the C tier as well. Moving on to Wednesday night's first 0-0 draw. It was between Atalanta and Slavia Prague in Bergamo. Now this game was a little disappointing, I'm not going to lie. I genuinely thought that both teams would score at least 1 goal. I know Atalanta, when they play at home, they tend to score a lot of goals in their matches. They had a bunch of chances. Like, they were definitely the better team on offense, but they just kept missing. Like, they only had 22 shots and only 5 of them hit the target. They had a 2.59 XG and still couldn't score. Slavia's goalkeeper was really good in this game. I do have to give him credit. He made some incredible saves, but 56% possession compared to 44. It was a close game, and you were just expecting someone to score in this one, and that goal just never came, which was very unfortunate. Ended in a 0-0 draw for a day that was full of crazy scorelines. This one, I honestly thought had the most potential, and it came away as a 0-0 draw. So I don't think it was as bad as Kairat and Pafos' 0-0 draw, but it wasn't good enough to really like compute with any of these matches up here. So Atalanta versus Slavia Prague 0-0, we're going to put it in the D tier. Moving on to the next game between Sporting CP and Marseille in Lisbon. This one ended as a 2-1 win for the Portuguese hosts. This was a pretty solid game. Honestly, there was a lot that happened. Igor Paixão got the opening goal in the 14th minute with a beautiful curling effort to open the scoring. And then Emerson had a red card in the stoppage time, which gave Sporting the advantage going into halftime if you talk about manpower, but they were still down a goal. In the second half, they slowly started to play better. They had a bunch of chances here that had much more momentum than Marseille did. And they came away with 2 goals from Catamo and Santos in the 69th and 86th minute. They put up 14 total shots, 7 on target, 52% possession compared to 48. Like, it was a pretty close game. It went back and forth a few times, but in the second half, Sporting just turned on the Jets. They cooked. They came away with the win. And honestly, Marseille are probably going to be feeling a little down after this one. They probably thought they could have come away with a win, especially on the road. It was a good chance for them, but it just wasn't meant to be. So this one, it was another solid game. Like, it was good, but I wouldn't say it was anything crazy. Let's put it in the C tier for now. And for the final game of the day, we have Matchday 3's third 0-0 draw between Monaco and Tottenham that was played out in Monaco. Now, this game also had a lot of potential. I really thought this would be like, there'd be a few goals in this one between both sides, but nothing came to be. Both goalkeepers played really well in this game, especially Vicario for Tottenham, but it just wasn't anything crazy, to be honest. Like, both teams put up a total of 34 shots, but only 10 on target. There was a few big chances for Monaco to score, but they just didn't capitalize on any of those chances. The possession was pretty close. It was okay. Like, honestly, I was expecting more from this match, to be honest, and I just wasn't really that thrilled by the end of 90 minutes. Like, it was all right, but I think they could have I think both teams could have played better, if we're being completely honest. So it's an unfortunate end to match day 3, but this game is going to sell for the D tier for now. So there you have it. We've ranked all 18 games from match day 3 in the Champions League, and these were some of the best matches of the season. Again, we saw a bunch of goals, we saw a bunch of red cards, there was a bunch of VAR reviews. There was a lot to unpack this week. We had a bunch of good games, as you can see in the C tier, a few great games, a few really good games, and a few amazing games. So it's kind of an interesting distribution here. Normally it's a bit more even, but this is what we got so far. I honestly think this was the best match day of the 3 that we've seen in this season's Champions League. I think this was like finally brought the energy and the emphasis of the league phase to a whole new level, and it was really good. If we take a look at the league phase, actually, at the very top right now we have PSG, Bayern Munich, Inter Milan, Arsenal, and Real Madrid on 9 points. We have Borussia Dortmund and Manchester City on 7, a bunch of teams on 6. And it's looking like the barrier to entry for the playoffs is a bit lower this year. Like 3 points for St.Gilloise is already getting you into the playoffs. Juventus, not even in the playoff picture. That's a big talking point. Bayern Leverkusen are struggling a lot. Ajax at the very bottom with a -10 goal differential is absolutely shocking to see, considering how highly I rated them going into this season. It's been insane. It's been a good start to the Champions League so far. Matchday 3 was easily my favorite, and I'm very interested to see how Matchday 4 goes. But what was your favorite game from Matchday 3 in this season's Champions League? What was the most shocking result in your opinion, and who are you most excited to see play in 2 weeks' time? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more football content, tier lists, and everything in between, and as always, I'll catch you next time.